All right, we're ready. I'm talking about watching your scope. This is something I want to talk about, the scope guard macros and some things you can fall into that I've noticed recently, even very experienced kernel maintainers making the same mistake. So I saw it enough times that I said, hey, let's talk about this. Quick introduction, I'm David Lechner. You might see me around the internet as DLEC, not so much on social media, but in the technical places. I've been working for Bay Libre for close to 3 years now. And fun fact, I got my start in embedded software. Everything I needed to know about embedded software I learned from playing with Lego robots. About 10, 12 years ago, I started upstreaming patches for the Lego Mindstorm ZV3 in the kernel, and that's how I got introduced to the kernel community, the U-boot community. And these days, as one of my side projects, we're now working on a thing we call PyBricks. That's a full open source stack for Lego programmable hubs, old and new, to keep software running up on them as Lego retires products, try to keep them out of the landfill as long as we can. But back to this talk, what are we covering? So I'll talk about what is automatic cleanup stuff in the first place, how it got in the kernel, and then we're gonna look at the pitfalls that can trip you up, and then I'll give you my opinions on some of the things maybe we can do about them. Here's the quick history lesson. We're talking about a concept called resource acquisition as initialization. I think that term came from C++ originally. Other programming languages have it. Some have like keywords built in. The first time I really internalized this concept is when I was learning the Go programming language and learning about the defer keyword, that the idea there is, for example, if you're opening a file, you say something equals open my file handle, and then the very next statement you write is supposed to be a defer, close that file statement. So that, and all of these things kind of work the same, that where you're declaring your variable, initializing your variable, and allocating your resources all done in the same statement. And the scope of that lifetime of the resource and the variable is all limited to the scope of your function, or maybe a smaller scope within a function. And whenever that variable is going out of scope, that resource is automatically being freed. So we've had this in the Linux kernel now since about mid-2003. It's in the cleanup.h header, and it's kind of built out of some fundamental pieces. The _free macro is like the very fundamental building block, that this is what we use to have the C compiler attribute that ties the callback function that does the cleanup to whatever variable we're declaring. And then one of the most common ones you'll see in the kernel is the guard macro that's used for managing lifetimes of any kind of lock that we don't want escaping the scope of a function. Always make sure we release our lock before we return. And then acquire is a new one that's actually been introduced just this year that's works a little different. It's for conditional locks in the kernel. So that's kind of the big picture. So let's look at where you can fall in the traps. If you recognize that video game, you're at least as old as I am, or you're a retro gamer. So I'm a reviewer in the IO subsystem, by the way, and in the IO subsystem, we use a lot of switch statements. So the first one I wanted to point out is that the guard macro, and some of the other macros similar to it, is actually declaring a local variable. That's not obvious when you see it in macro form. It looks like a function. And the Clang compiler does not like it when you declare a local variable inside the case block of a switch statement. And so it'll give you this nice compiler error, which if you haven't seen this before, it's kind of hard to understand what this compiler error means, but it's just telling you that yeah, you can't declare a local variable there. And there's a quick and easy fix for it that if you just add braces to add a scope, then that contains the variable declared by that guard macro within that scope. And so that makes the compiler happy. That one's an easy fix. The rest aren't so easy, so I'll be saving them to the last section of what to do about it. The next section is scope guard. This is the title of the talk. This is the one that I saw happening a lot that inspired me to come up here in the first place, that the scope guard macro is actually implemented using a for loop. So if you see this in the kernel, it's totally not obvious there's this for loop because it doesn't say for anywhere in the macro. And so you might be surprised when you try to use a break or continue out of the scoped guard. When you have an outer loop, it's actually breaking out of the scoped guard block, not out of the outer loop. So I found, when I started noticing this, I went through the whole kernel and looked and found like 4 different bugs where people had, like this one, where people had introduced a patch that used scoped guard and didn't know this, and introduced a bug or a change in program flow unintentionally. Like in this one, somebody decided that this section of code needs to be protected. It has the continue statement in it. They put a scoped guard around it, and well, now this continue is breaking out of the scoped guard scope instead of out of the outer for loop. So the con guard function at the end of this function now is always getting executed, where before the continue was skipping that. And when I reported this bug on the mailing list, I got a reply from Mark Lechner that gave me a nice quote for this, that he's been bitten by this too. It's not just me that's noticing this. But he said his strategy was to just make a mental note to never do this, but of course that's a brutal strategy, so that's why I'm up here to try to get more feedback on what's a different strategy we can use. And then I don't want to talk about scope conditional guard. I'm a terrible singer, but imagine that to the tune of We Don't Talk About Bruno from Disney's Encanto movie. So it has all the problems we know and love from scoped guard because it's a scope loop. And then on top of that, you can see there's a return statement right in the middle of the macro arguments. So it's not very clear at all, like what the program flow is of when is it going to return, when is it not. And another thing I've noticed in there that I don't think most people have noticed is that it's actually ignoring the return value of whatever the is acquiring the lock. So some of these are Booleans, doesn't matter, but some actually return more than one error value, so we'd be losing information if we're ignoring that error return. And yeah, there's a link to one of the bugs I found with that. And this is the inside. This is not even like the full macro expansion. This is the very abridged version. And yeah, it's scary, so we don't want to talk about it. So those are the pitfalls I've noticed. So now on to what should we do about it? Of course, there's lots of opinions on these things, so this is according to me. First one is the free macro that we talked about. Since we're doing the RAII pattern, we're supposed to be doing the declaration, initialization variable all in the same place. I know all of us in the kernel are trained to do like the C89 style, where you do all of your variable declarations at the beginning of a function, then code later, but there's actually an exception for this one that it's okay to declare the variable later, and we actually want to do that because it can lead to bugs. There's a link about that if you're interested in more. And I know we said we aren't going to talk about scoped conditional guard, but we have the acquire macro now, which fixes all of the problems with that. So don't be tempted to use it, just use acquire now. In fact, scope conditional guard was so bad, we ripped it out of the IIO subsystem even before we had the acquire replacement. And I looked, there's only like 20 files left in the kernel that still use scope conditional guard, so yeah, maybe we should just rip it out completely since we have something better now. And if you enjoy popcorn threads, you can read about the one time that I tried to fix scope conditional guard, and what I did was not very technically good, but somehow it got accepted into the kernel anyway, went all the way to Linus, he saw it, grumpy emails ensued, you know how that goes. So what should we do about scope conditional guard? There's lots of different approaches we could take, different ideas we can do. So yeah, I'm hoping to hear feedback from people of what do you think is going to be best, what works, what doesn't. If I ruled the world, I would probably just avoid it mostly, that instead of using that, if we want to break out of a loop, break out of a conditional guard, then I would write it like this, where it's obviously that we have a do-while loop that we're breaking out of rather than hiding that for loop. I forgot to mention earlier that there's actually a few places in the kernel, like especially the input subsystem and in the sound drivers, where people have seen that you can break out of the for loop like that, and so they're actually breaking out of it, so that makes it obvious. Unless you already know what's going on, that code's not so obvious. But I do make one concession that the one-liner scoped guard is pretty handy. It's better looking than having braces like that. And yeah, this is the one place in the whole kernel where somebody actually put a comment on the break to make it obvious that this is breaking out of the scoped guard and not the for loop. So if nothing else, maybe we could put comments everywhere else, and enough people will see it, will kind of get used to this is the way it works. And one more fun one, another place where someone wanted to use scoped conditional guard, but they also wanted to use a continue statement, and they couldn't. So they had to write it kind of funny like this. So that's all I've got to say about that. So open it up for questions.
Any questions before break time?
There's another one, another interesting issue of scope guard, which is not that terrible. It's just that it causes warnings when you have a scoped guard where you assign a value to a variable and you define that variable but not initialize it at the top of the function. It will think that it can actually use an uninitialized variable, so like if you use it later. So something like an attribute saying like this loop always runs at least once would be in order, but...
Yeah, there was a problem like that before, that when we used it a lot in the IOSO system, we would do early returns and switch statements, and the compiler couldn't figure out that the loop only ran once, but somebody came in a while back and made the macro even scarier to fix that. So I don't know if that still exists or if that's something you've seen more recently.
I wasn't aware of that.
Maybe it's fixed.
I think you made an interesting suggestion on stage, which was not on the slides. You said that scope guard didn't include for. Maybe we should call it for scoped guard or something.
Yeah.
Okay, let's thank David again and go to the break.